Hey, and we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. And today we're talking about Diablo IV. This is a big one. It's big for Diablo, it's big for Blizzard, it's big for Activision. I mean, Activision has gotten a lot of heat for various good reasons, and Blizzard and their games have gotten heat and skepticism for various valid reasons. And I think everyone really just wants Diablo to be good. And thankfully, it seems like it's good. Here's the deal. We've been basically no-lifing this since the early access pre-order thing. We didn't get a review copy. We wanted to just play when everything was up and running for the public mostly and get you some real first impressions. We rolled a barbarian and jumped in and yeah. While we can't speak for the long-term end game and balancing and seasons added and stuff, and whether or not Blizzard is going to add in something that messes it up later on, right now, currently at release, everything seems good, especially on the network front. We've been able to hop in with no problems. There was a licensing bug at first on PS5, but it never affected me. With minimal queues and wait times, I think the longest I waited was a minute, and that was only once. One day while playing, I experienced a little bit of latency, but that was one isolated incident. Technically, things seem all right here. But the actual video game itself is really impressive. It certainly makes a good first impression. It's a lot of fun. And in my opinion, at least first impressions here, the base is already more exciting than Diablo 3. It feels more immediately engaging, cooler looking, a more interesting story, and an exciting world. So you choose your character, the brute force barbarian, the ranged and varied rogue, a magical sorcerer, an animal and shape-shifting druid, and the really cool looking necromancer. You pick them, you make them, then you set out in this massive world of Sanctuary, pursuing Lilith, the big bad villain.
Old, tired, each day a struggle to live up to your own legacy.
What do you want with me?
Astaroth.
She's dead.
Astaroth cannot die. Not by your hand.
Presentation-wise, it's all really top-notch. I mean, you get those fancy, high-quality CG cutscenes you'd expect from a Blizzard game like this, but you also get tons of regular cutscenes that are just as engaging and feel just as good and compelling. Also, you have a good idea right from the outset as to what the hell is even going on. It helps to know the extended lore of the other games, I'm sure, but you can figure it out as you go here, and I think it's good for new first-time players. It's easy to get, but doesn't feel watered down or too different. Everything from the character voice acting to the landscapes are dripping with atmosphere, man. Caves and demonic spaces are nasty and gross and disgusting. Landscapes are lush with water and wildlife. Battlefields are littered with the dead. Snowy mountains are treacherous and lonely and isolated. And of course, the spooky woods are very spooky. But I mean it, the world here is something else. Diablo has shifted to fully open world here, and the map is really massive, especially because the first few acts you're spending it on foot. There are mounts, but the game doesn't jump to give you one right away, and it feels different after. Wandering around, getting side quests, finding a new village, getting some additional quests, stumbling upon hidden little dungeons, it all just feels really natural and fun. My only complaint is that some of the side quests can be a bit dull. There's usually some good dialogue, but the lamer ones are just kind of go kill a thing and get 5 things from them and bring it back. I know that's the nature of these games, but yeah. You'll bump into players a lot in the towns, and then every so often you'll bump into one out in the wild, and there are some emotes and interactions, and it just works. But the exploration, whether you're alone or with someone, feels so rewarding because of that core Diablo loop, of course, which I'll get to, but also because it's a cool-looking, varied world with a lot in it. Walk a few minutes and find a completely different biome, different enemies, and weird new mini dungeons and towns with sad people. It's immensely satisfying moment to moment, and it absolutely taps into that lizard brain addiction thing, just one more minute, just one more town, just one more quest, blah, 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 blah. And that's because the combat, the leveling up, the loot is all just very solid and well thought out. I don't know how much of it is revolutionary different, but it just takes the best of RPGs and Diablo, but it just takes the best of Diablo and RPGs and does it all really, really well. The Barbarian might be boring for some, might be boring to watch gameplay of, but I like getting up in the action and doing crowd control, and the feedback of hits is really satisfying. Damage numbers are one thing, but like from the sound to the feedback, like you will know the difference between a mid hit and like a great critical attack.
Not ready yet.
And there's quite a bit of depth, maybe even more than you might expect if you're a casual player. From the weapons, to what you're slotting them with, to the combinations, and all of the armor and stuff, which thankfully also has full transmog. It's nice. Then the skill tree, which is absolutely brimming with different mappable abilities, as well as, more traditional upgrades that all branches out and grows in the early stages as you dump in more points. Like, you probably know this by now, but it's good, satisfying stuff. The progression loop is good. The weapon mastery skills are awesome, and kind of like end up being the cherry on top of the sundae that is being able to have your own really unique move set. Some stuff is definitely better than others, like some moves, but if you happen to jump in with another player playing as like the same class, you may have a lot of variation between you, which is cool. Mapping abilities to a controller, if you're on console, works well enough, and managing the skill tree can feel kind of sloppy without a mouse, but that's really my only complaint. Everything else works, either way. Like, easy to manage main quests and side quests, keep track of dungeons, track accomplishments and weapon mastery, stuff like that. A lot of it works through side tabs sliding in, and it's all very clean. And vendors, salvaging, upgrading, the gems, all that stuff is pretty straightforward and easy to grasp when you're in towns, and doesn't feel too obtuse or unfriendly from a user experience. And the loot is pretty awesome, even from the early outset. I mean, they probably did that to get you addicted to it like right away, but like I said, there's some good depth to it. But visually, it's all awesome too, which does lead me to one point I want to make: the monetization. We were expecting the worst after Diablo Immortal, the mobile game. So Diablo IV does have a store. It's a rotating skin cosmetic shop in a tab in the menus. It's there, but the game doesn't push you to it or make it crazy in your face compared to some more egregious games. Still, I mean, I paid like a big full price for this game. I don't really like having shops like these in these types of games, especially because, I mean, here it seems like the skins are really expensive, so I will not defend this stuff. I am not a fan. But at the very least, I never felt compelled to check it out or spend any money. Specifically because the loot you actually earn in the game seems to look pretty awesome. It's good that I think never once was I like, oh man, this stuff looks cool, but when I pause it and look at the shop, that stuff's way cooler. Nah, the stuff that they made in the game that you get is pretty sweet. This is all there now, of course. Diablo 4 will be an evolving game with fixes, updates, seasons, so we don't know if they'll push the monetization further, but for now, this is where it's at. Otherwise, the game just feels like they threw the kitchen sink at it, like a huge budget. Like, it just has a massive world, good presentation, and compelling story, fun, time-tested, smooth gameplay. The world, like I said, is massive, and it's filled with cool bosses, random events that can actually be really fun, the random stuff that pops up, other players popping up, but like, it doesn't really all feel like it ruins the Diablo flow, in our opinion. It's just good stuff. Hardcore players may beg to differ after like 300 hours in this game, but that's where we're at now. They have an end game set up, and it's easy to roll a new character right away after completing the main game, and of course, there are the world tiers I didn't even mention. There's 4 of them at the start here for different difficulty and challenge and rewards if you're feeling pretty spicy. So again, we're only scratching the surface here as we can only make this video so long, but early signs and impressions of Diablo 4 are pointing to yes, check it out. But of course, that's a before you buy. You know how this works by now. We give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion, and now we want to hear yours down in the comments. What is your experience with Diablo? Have you only ever played Diablo 3? Have you never even played any of them and are considering jumping into this one? I think you're going to be in good shape if that's the case, but hey, maybe you've been playing since the original. We'd love to hear your opinion, whatever type of player you are. definitely let us know. But we just wanted to give you guys some gameplay and some first impressions here to inform you. And if that helped you out, clicking the like button helps us. Thank you. But as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.